What's up, YouTubers? This is your guy, Mr. Evaluator, and today what we're going to be going over again is Pennywise's power. Okay, so the reason for this is because your favorite villain decided to put him up against one of DC's not even so greatest majestical wielders. Okay, yes, John Constantine has these impressive feats, but again, dealing with me concerning the common basis of their power, I don't go off of the feats. Okay, it's not good to use again the feats in battle, and pretty much I'm just wasting my time trying to explain. If you could just watch the first video that I've recently uploaded, you'll basically understand the whole point of having a character debate. But in this case of scenario, I'm just gonna put your favorite villain just recently uploaded this video because he has misunderstood the powers and capabilities of Trigon himself, and he's misunderstood a little bit more about some of other DC's characters like John Constantine. Now, in this case of scenario, I sat and I watched his entire video. Okay, so according to the DC Comics, this power that revolves around Constantine basically gives him luck, which allows him to surpass and even bypass DC's most strongest villains. Even not saying that Dr. Fate's a villain, but he'd even managed to surpass and manipulate Dr. Fate himself. But at the same time, in this universe, there's balance, and with balance, there's chaos, and then there's order. So at this side of the case, Constantine is pretty much, and any other majestical wielder is bound by the laws, and most of them, who are alive, some of them are bound even so by logic. But let's not get sidetracked. Stick with me. Let's go with the whole point. So basically, your favorite villain said, what happens if John Constantine went into the Stephen King universe and go through the infinite layers of darkness and meet Pennywise's true form? In this case of scenario, at the end of his video, he said that Pennywise will overpower John Constantine of all he went over. Okay? So what I'm going to tell you, what I went over, is that Pennywise is just a giant consumer. Okay? Let's get that thought through your head. Pennywise, again, can eat the entire macroverse with his with the imaginations and thoughts of it, and just consume it with maturing in it. He can eat the entire macroverse, which is, as I say again, a pretty impressive feat. But we're sticking with the common basis. He can eat the entire macroverse, right? The entire macroverse with one gobble. With maturing, and he ate all of the thoughts, everything, including in imaginations, and clearly imaginations is immeasurable. Okay, he eat it all in one bite. Okay, let's jump over to John Constantine. It ain't even too much to understand about Pennywise, but the fact of you knowing that he's just a big, huge Galactus that eats universes. Okay, but anytime he enters creation, he has to abide by those laws. But here's another thing about John Constantine and pretty much any of DC's characters. any of DC's characters, right? Okay, so if John Constantine, it also says that he has vast knowledge about things, about occult, about occult magic, dark secrets, pretty much everything. So in this case, I kind of really want to push out the fact that in the video he literally said, so the Dark Tower is bigger than the idea of size. Okay? Or possibly he said that Pennywise is bigger than the idea of size. So if you were to say that somebody can get bigger, it will literally be absurd to them being even bigger than the idea of size. So basically in this case, if Trigon's power has no limits and he is literally an immeasurable demon, he is bigger and can be bigger than the idea of size, than the idea of being omnipotent, than the idea of being omnipresent. Because this is how powerful he actually is. He's the embodiment of evil and darkness itself. And because he has no limits, again, as I confirmed earlier in the video, the more the darkness and the more the evil that Trigon absorbs, the stronger he becomes. Plus with the power he already has. But let's not get sidetracked. I'm going to end this as quick as possible. So the fact is that his power is literally immeasurable. He may not have any, I'm going to give it a low ball. Trigon may not have any power about the size or the length of the entire macroverse, but if he wanted to, he would literally outgrow the idea of size. He will literally outgrow the idea of size, which means the idea of size is infinite. It's the very beginning. It's the creation of size, like the idea of mathematics. If you give Brainiac and say Brainiac is the idea of mathematics. Excuse me, bear with me. Brainiac has the idea of mathematics. That means this guy is smart as I don't know what. Okay? and it's unexplainable. And don't meaning to get off topic, but the situation with Trigon clearly makes him immeasurable because his power is limitless. But the reason why I'm bringing up Trigon is I'm comparing, is bear with me. The reason why I'm bringing up Trigon is because pretty much Constantine is a fraction of what Trigon is. Okay? So I'm gonna also explain. So if all of DC characters were any one of them was to cross over and come on to Pennywise turf, so they walked outside of creation, it basically gives them the access of using the full raw true power. Now why is this? According to the DC comics that you have, according to the DC comics, you got the Lords of Chaos and the Lords of Chaos and the Lords of Order. So basically, again, DC has to have this balance in this universe. There can never be no more good than evil, nor no more evil than good. It has to weigh a balance. So clearly, according to every character in the DC universe, they're basically pretty much bound by the laws and the regulations. I mean, it really doesn't even have to apply to Trigon because again, he's just an interdimensional demon. But as far as anybody else, their power, they're bound by the laws, the logic, and the regulation in the DC universe. So pretty much they can do what they want, but they can't use their full power. So if you give Superman, if you give John Martian the Manhunter, if you give John Constantine, if you give Zatanna, if you give anybody one of these powerful characters to step outside creation, you give them the power, the accessibility to use their full power. And clearly, the feats John Constantine has shown that he's able to do, imagine him doing that more, plus more, beyond creation itself. So basically, let me explain this to you. If John Constantine was to step outside creation, it doesn't mean that all of his powers and all of his abilities and all of his stuff goes away. It doesn't, because at this fate, stated by your favorite villain himself, it takes real belief to fight Pennywise and pretty much to defeat him. And this is Pennywise in his true form, because the child's mind, you put, like he said, Superman versus Shrek, the kid will say Shrek because that's his favorite character. Defy the logic, defy the reasoning behind it, bypass all of that, because that kid believes that Shrek beats Superman. In his mind, Shrek beats Superman because that's his favorite character. And this pretty much understands why the adults don't have this kind of belief, because they go with the logic. In this case, a scenario, if John Constantine, excuse me, didn't mean to butcher his name, if John stepped outside creation itself, you're basically giving him the accessibility to use his full power. And pretty much Constantine in his full power is, well, being outside of creation, he can do anything he wants. Not to imagine that the way his belief works and the way his power really actually works. See, he has this luck essence that's always around him, but the point is, it's the concept of Constantine's mind. It's his fate. It's his destiny. And because he's outside of creation itself, it'll literally make him way more powerful than he ever was. So you may want to wonder, Mr. Evaluator, what is these headcanon assumptions you're coming out with John Constantine? If he step outside of creation to fight Pennywise, Pennywise will overpower him. And all of what you're saying doesn't make sense. Well, let me explain this to you, brother. Superman is never at his full strength. Even when he actually says he's at his full strength fighting Darkseid. In actuality, if Superman were to step outside creation, like he's well, pretty much in the DC comics, like when he punched Doomsday in Post-Crisis, he punched Doomsday all the way into the future. In that case, if Superman steps outside of creation, he's not bound by no laws, man. He's not bound by no logic, nothing. And see, Batman, don't even get me started with Batman. If Batman were to step outside creation, he will belittle Pennywise's true form. He will literally belittle Pennywise. Why? Because as a child, Batman's parents were taken from him, and pretty much it literally destroyed his imagination. It destroyed his imagination. It basically destroyed his belief. It basically destroyed his belief in such things. But the symbol of why he became the Batman makes him believe that anything is possible, because of the belief of what made him become the Batman has literally became possible. And in this case, as shown in most of the Arkham video games with Batman, uh, a prime example would be with Professor Crane, if I may be saying his name right, Professor Crane, when he, Scarecrow, when he shoots that gas when he shoots that gas to Batman, and Batman sees all his fears, which is pretty much terrifying. But when he come to realize, he remembers why he became the Batman, and that's why he was able to fight Scarecrow, and in those fears show the bat symbol. Pretty much in the Batman video game, you show the bat light on Scarecrow, and you kind of burn him out and beat him. And in this case, with Batman stepping on the Outerverse to fight Pennywise, he literally belittles him, because the purpose of him becoming Batman was the belief he had to become the Batman. And whatever Batman literally thinks, and what allowed him to become that, will be times the power Pennywise is. So even if Pennywise did understand belief, even if he did understand imagination, there would be no way in the world he would literally overpower John Constantine. It couldn't. Because John Constantine stepping outside of creation gives him accessibility to his full raw power. He's not bound by no laws in the DC universe. He's not bound by it. He isn't. And Superman isn't neither. So we all know that Superman clearly needs the sun, but he'll just be 100%. He'll just have 100% of his power. So that means if he steps out the macroverse, if he steps outside of creation, you basically giving Superman the power and the accessibility to use his full power. And his full power is unimaginable. He is literally super on every level. If he believes that this is what hope is, the beliefs get enhanced. Like, if he's a telepath, then Superman is a super telepath on every level. He's literally super on every level. So if he's believing, you best believe he will erase the idea of Pennywise from existence. That is very powerful. He will literally erase the idea of Pennywise himself. John Constantine, stepping outside creation, has shown, according to the DC Comics, that this guy can befriend demons. And I don't mean, before you get sidetracked, before you say what, he has vast knowledge about magic. So any magic he used outside creation, any magic John Constantine used outside creation will have no limits. Literally, will have no limits. So, pretty much like this, if John Constantine was to basically throw fire a big ball of fire in the DC universe about the size of the sun, it'll pretty much be, I don't know, just a small ball that'll possibly destroy a whole city. But in this case, John Constantine throwing a fireball outside of creation, huh, just because he understands that the power of belief destroys Pennywise. That fireball will literally destroy Pennywise because of Constantine himself. Constantine is literally the idea of belief. But the reason why he drinks so much booze, the reason why he drinks so much alcohol is because he stated, according to the DC Comics, he had lung cancer and he was dying very soon. But it was also said that it was fate him itself that led Constantine. And Constantine being on the outside of the universe, his magic has no limits, okay? That means a pinch of his powers, a pinch of his magic will feel like being thrown towards Pennywise. It'll feel like the entire universe was thrown at him. It'll feel like every blow Constantine throws at Pennywise, it'll literally feel like the Pennywise, an entire universe is getting thrown at him. An entire universe. So if Pennywise just say, screw it, let me consume Constantine, bam. Constantine himself has the power to understand monsters and other creations. Keep in mind that Pennywise is an alien, so he's going to automatically know his weakness. And that's the power that's going to get bonded with him. So I don't mean to brag, and I don't mean to throw it all out, but I'm just going to go on and let you know how John Constantine will have accessibility to his full raw power is because he's no longer bound by any laws in the DC universe. Batman is only a human, but the belief of him becoming the Batman will destroy Pennywise. And if it was to get any further than that, he will literally erase the idea of Pennywise. This is even stated that if the kids knew even more, they can literally beat Pennywise's true form and erase the idea of him. That's how powerful it is. So if those kids could do that, you best believe that any character in the DC universe that steps outside of creation, these kids don't even have no majestical powers. These kids are not even like Superman or Green Lantern. Oh, let alone Green Lantern. Green Lantern, Hal Jordan has overcame fear. And if he even suspects that this creature bases on the power of belief, and that ring holds infinite amount of power, yeah, he too will erase the idea of Pennywise from existence. Because that means his power will have no bounds. Plus his will. The idea of his will. But let's just leave it with the idea of his will to a side and just stick with Constantine's, Hal Jordan's belief. If he was to step outside creation, right, he too will have accessibility to his full power with the Lantern Ring. According to the DC Comics, basically, not John Constantine, Hal Jordan has became the manifestation of his will itself. So you may wonder, Mr. Evaluator, do you think that Pennywise can consume the power of will? Yeah, he really can. He really can. He really can consume the power of will. But, like I said, he has the power of will to believe he can destroy this creature. And if you put will and belief to it, it basically erases Pennywise. Because it goes back to what he said from the beginning, that Shrek is this kid's favorite character. So if you put Superman up against Shrek, because he's his favorite character, he has raw belief. Because it's his favorite character, defies the logic, will erase Pennywise, will beat Pennywise, will literally possibly even beat Pennywise. And putting will behind that belief, oh yeah, Pennywise is pretty much done. So if you clearly understand why Constantine will have full access to his power, because one, he's not bound by any laws or logic, because he's outside of creation. And being outside of creation gives Constantine even more the power to summon more and more demons. Like, he could literally whip up a demon that will literally consume Pennywise and put a spell on that demon and erase that demon from existence. Once he knows that, no, just forget about that. Push that aside. Belief destroys Pennywise. So as I said, it's fate itself. The power of fate itself. The power of destiny itself moves John Constantine. Even though Trigon broke his neck in the DC film Dark Apocalypse War in Justice League Dark, it was that Zatanna put a spell on him so he will come back. But even if she didn't do that, fate would have brought him back, as always. Fate brings Constantine back. Fate is basically, as I said from before, he is the embodiment and well-being of fate itself. If it was John Constantine's fate to challenge Pennywise, oh, wait a minute, he's stepping outside of creation. It will literally become the fate. If Pennywise even gets the sin of overpowering Constantine, it will become Constantine's fate to destroy Pennywise and erase him from existence automatically, out of nothingness. That's how powerful Constantine really is. If he steps outside of creation, and pretty much Trigon, that even gives me more information about Trigon. So if Trigon literally steps outside of creation himself, oh yeah, Pennywise done. Trigon doesn't need belief. As I said from before, Pennywise eat creations, and he lives in infinite layers of darkness. Well, Trigon, because he's the embodiment of evil and darkness itself, he will absorb all of that evil and all of that darkness that's in him and the infinite layers of darkness he lives in. Like, are you kidding me? He would absorb that and just consume Pennywise himself. And pretty much like the heart of darkness, he'll be even more stronger, plus the power he already has. So come on, man. Like, literally. Trigon will literally be unstoppable. And it takes more than a power of belief to defeat Trigon. You're going to have raw power. Raw physical power. Which means Raven is the key into defeating Trigon. The spirits used Raven, the energy of light, to destroy Trigon, or use his own powers against him with the likes of Raven. I mean, this here is very deep. So what I'm just gonna end it with, if Constantine goes outside of creation to fight Pennywise, he's gonna beat him, because he too has no limits to his power. And it gives him the accessibility to use his raw, full power. And pretty much, because he becomes the fate to defeat Pennywise, he'll defeat Pennywise. Because that's what fate has destined him to do. Just by him walking in the Outerverse. Just by him walking outside of creation. Fate itself will guide him. He basically becomes fate itself, and let alone Phantom Stranger and Spectrum. Okay, let alone Phantom Stranger and Spectre. Because if they step outside of creation and the power and capabilities they have, well, I really haven't read too much on them. So, but I just stated that every DC character that steps outside creation has accessibility to their raw powers. So 9 times out of 10, well, they're not pretty much bound by no laws or no logic. You know, they move with the power of fate as well. So if they were to fight well, if they were to go out there and go outside of creation and fight Pennywise, well, it's kind of, well, yeah, they'll outdo Pennywise. They'll destroy him, because the thing about Spectre and Fate is, nope, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about them because they too have balances. They have rules and they have logic they have to abide by, because in the DC universe, I'm so sorry about that, guys. I had no idea my phone was doing that. I am so sorry. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Okay, but basically, I hate this phone. But basically, okay, so that's what it is. Spectre and Phantom Stranger are bound by laws, which is why that when Trigon told him that he's coming back with his daughter, he wasn't just talking trash to him. He actually meant what he said, and Phantom Stranger known that. So all you have to do is go back and watch that video and look at the very next panel and look at Phantom Stranger's facial expression, because he knew exactly what Trigon said. Trigon said that you ain't going to be able to do nothing about it when I take over this universe, when I come back with my daughter. And he knew it because that was his fate. So that basically goes to show you that Phantom Stranger and Spectre are bound by the laws. Everybody is bound by laws according to the DC universe, because in being bound by laws mean they have to abide by the Lords of Chaos and the Lords of Chaos and the Lords of Order. So it kind of clearly says, okay, you guys, there has to be a balance. So everybody has a limit. Everybody has a limit. But with them stepping outside creation gives them the accessibility to do anything they want. Spectre really doesn't need the power of belief to beat Pennywise. He could just replicate everything Pennywise does. He will become infinity himself. He'll literally become infinite himself. And Phantom Stranger, well, Phantom Stranger, he too can pretty much become the essence of belief itself. Because belief too is immeasurable. Belief too is clearly immeasurable. And pretty much like Spectre, he'll just pay Stephen King a visit and make him erase Pennywise. And if he can't, he'll erase Pennywise himself. Because, like, these guys have no limits on their powers. He will create fate. He will give the power of fate to Stephen King himself. He will create Stephen King's fate. Spectre can give you fate. And pretty much your fate can end you. So Spectre can literally end the fate. He can literally end the fate of Pennywise. But like I said, Phantom Stranger can become the power of belief himself, which he already is, because he encourages everybody. There was one video on the DC Showcase. He went to fight this serpent, this zombie guy who basically sucked the living life out of people. I forgot his name, but he sucked the living life out of people to live on forever. And his aura was very powerful. Phantom Stranger's aura was very powerful. So with him stepping outside of creation himself, oh yeah, he's gonna destroy Pennywise and clearly erase the idea of him. But can Pennywise do that? No, Pennywise can't do that, because he's just a big consumer that consumes things. That's all it is. And all it takes is the power of belief to defeat him. Wow, that's something crazy. But let's give Pennywise a highball. Let's just say belief doesn't destroy Pennywise. Let's just say that. Let's just say belief doesn't destroy Pennywise. They would still erase him from existence. They would still erase him from existence. And I'm going to tell you how. Because according to the DC Comics, Spectre, Phantom Stranger, Zatanna, anybody that pretty much, even Batman, anybody that stepping outside of creation, right, gives them the ability to clearly do whatever they want, stepping outside of creation. So basically, they have the power to basically create things themselves, to literally create things themselves. Wait a minute. Batman can't literally do that because he's not 5D. Again, if you understand the common basis of these characters, what would happen if Superman stepped outside the entire creation itself? He has accessibility to his raw power because he has to his raw power. Even if there's no suns, he has his ability to his raw power. Batman, being a human, step outside the creation himself. Well, he's going to have all kind of artifacts, but he himself step outside creation himself. He has the thought of concentration. So clearly, him concentrating on Pennywise, the well-being of Pennywise, like, it'll literally create, like, because he has no fear, because Batman has no fear in him, it'll pretty much, Batman will pretty much be like a dark void to Pennywise. Thus far, being this, he would not be able to attack Batman at all. Why? Because Batman could clearly be invincible to him. If he didn't work on the power of belief and he could just eat people, then he wouldn't see Batman. Because in this case, Batman works on concentration. This guy lives in infinite layers of darkness, and pretty much Batman could hide his very existence, and let alone John Marston, the Manhunter. If he steps outside creation, you already know he's gonna get into the infinite layer of Pennywise's mind, and he will destroy him. Pennywise has his own eternity, which is pretty amazing, but it's nothing compared to the layers in the mind of John Marston, the Manhunter. Now, talking about this guy, he'll literally go inside Pennywise's mind and say, "Oh, you are afraid of fire, so let me give you fire," which will probably kind of get to him. But at the end of the day, like, he was taught not to kill. He, like, John Marston is another alien from Mars, and if he wanted to go so deep into Pennywise's mind, again, he would get in contact with Stephen King himself, and he could just freeze the thought of Pennywise. He could freeze the idea of Pennywise. And what happens if he frees the idea of Pennywise? That means everything that he's in, it's like he'd automatically just stop. Everything would just freeze. And let alone Flash. Don't talk about Flash stepping outside creation, because this guy is unbelievable. He'd have all of his powers and all of his abilities and stuff, and plus with the things he has, yeah, man, running through dark void, he'd basically create light with that lightning that's flowing upon his body. It'll literally make Flash invincible. Okay. So, but for the fact now that if Pennywise if it did not if belief wasn't the one that killed him, then, Flash has the speed force within him. And pretty much being outside of creation literally gives Flash no limits as well. But I mean, Flash is a vulnerable type of guy. But if he wants to, he would really clearly he would clearly match the idea of speed. He would literally match the idea of speed. And the idea of speed is bigger than speed itself. He would literally outrun the idea of speed. So he himself will make his way to Stephen King. And pretty much make Stephen King erase Pennywise. And if that doesn't work, he'll literally go way further back than that. So we all have it that Flash could run through time. So pretty much being outside of creation, he will run. Okay, so being outside of creation, he will run to the very beginning. So he will run in Stephen King's world, in his mind, and run to the idea of Pennywise. And he'll stop it. He will stop it. So he'll go in Stephen King's timeline. Well, not his timeline. He outside of creation. He would literally run to the idea of Pennywise before it even begins. He would literally run to the well-being before Pennywise even came to existence in the Stephen King universe. Or in matter of fact, before Pennywise even came in his own universe. Before Pennywise came to life. He would run to the beginning cycle. Not life, the beginning cycle. He would run to the beginning cycle of Pennywise and erase him. Because Flash is just too powerful. In this case, because he's outside creation and he's faster than the idea of size. So yeah, Pennywise is done. So I'm going to be doing some more research. But as of right now, this will be the video I post. So if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please leave in the comment section. And because it is very much, it is a need that we have to understand the common basis of these people's, of these characters' fight styles. Now, as far as the common basis of their power. So pretty much if Pennywise came to the DC universe, I mean we already know what Trigon to do, so let's not even talk about that. I told you what would happen if they step outside creation itself. So that means he's going to be bound by the laws. And pretty much John Constantine will pretty much send him to hell. Okay? He'll basically send him to hell, and Trigon will possibly eat him and keep him there, and he'll be sitting under Trigon's feet. Forever. Forever. So, what if he tries to nuke the entire DC universe? Well, he wouldn't do that because there's balance. So he has to abide by chaos, the laws of shadow, and the laws of order. So it'll be so much Pennywise will have the ability to do. And if he's just going to blow out the entire DC universe with a nuke, that's not going to happen. Because it's going to be a higher being than the presence. Higher being than the presence. To stop Pennywise and pretty much kick him out of the DC universe or erase him from existence. Because that's what it is. It's about balance and order. So if Pennywise is just this powerful, right? And he has to abide by the orders, then no, he wouldn't be running around killing kids. Because if he run around and kill kids, he'd have to go see Spectre. And we already know what Spectre could do to him. He'll turn him into cheese. He'll basically, and Spectre can warp his reality. He'll break his reality. Clearly, he'll break his reality. Uh, let alone what John Martian Manhunter could do. And please don't even get me started about Wonder Woman. If Wonder Woman steps outside creation, she herself has the power and the ability to do anything she wants. Anything she wants. So the thing is that these characters, you have to understand the basis of their power. She has the power of being, and she also has, okay, excuse me, she has the power of, she's a majestical being because she wields magic too, but she doesn't, like, those armor, those bracelets give her her ability. And clearly, her belief about men, well, Pennywise could be a female, it doesn't matter, but her belief about men pretty much can really destroy Pennywise. Well, yeah, definitely. We'll destroy Pennywise. And if he comes in a DC universe, yeah, she's really gonna give it to him. She's really gonna give it to Pennywise. She cut his head off. And because he's a monster, they'll crush him. They'll crush Pennywise. And pretty much Zeus and them, they will literally force the Lords of Chaos and the Lords of Order. They'll clearly bound Pennywise to hold the entire infinite universe for eternity. So yeah, that's pretty, wow. I mean, that's deep. So whenever you guys get a chance, leave a comment in the section. Hit me back, have any questions. I will be uploading another video, Bane versus Captain America. So, let me know. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great day. This video was debunked and reevaluated and corrected by Mr. Evaluator. Peace, guys. Ooh. Oh. Okay, go here, go here. Okay.